Hello, Darshan Maharaja here from space. No, from Twitter space of yesterday. The subject ostensibly was the perception that Indians are taking over Canada, and then because it is a part of a much larger issue that is immigration combined with international students, temporary foreign workers, the resulting pressure on all systems such as housing, healthcare, whatever, and the associated corruption and criminality that also we have seen. There was a lot of digression among the speakers from the main topic, but and normally that would be a negative. But certain things were said that I found useful to expand on because as we zero in on the smaller components of the larger meta scam meta issue that we have on our hands, it will help to uh, improve our understanding of the whole issue. And here the uh, thing boils down to who is a Canadian. How do you define a Canadian? And some views were offered that I think need to be rebutted. Uh, Not necessarily having anything against the people who said these views, but the views need to be rebutted because I think there are logical fallacies there. One person said that if you are a Canadian, that means you hunt, you fish, you go canoeing, you love the outdoors life, and you play ice hockey on frozen lakes and ponds, things like that. Now, this may not be possible for a lot of people uh, for a variety of reasons. I mean, the word diversity has come in much disrepute in recent years, and deservedly so. I also don't like that word. But there is a lot of variation among what people want to do, what they like to do, what are their go-to activities, and what they are capable of. Frankly, I mean, if someone comes here at the age of 40 or even at the age of 20, then it may be difficult for them to learn to skate. Whereas children who grow up here of whatever race find it relatively easy. So, and then hunting is an activity that not everyone may take to. Uh, that is another part of it. Then, of course, what was not said by that person, like sharing a beer with someone. I mean, if I am not an alcohol drinker, and a lot of people aren't, then that is also ruled out. For vegetarians like me, bonding over barbecue is ruled out. So you cannot put a purity test uh, to, for the immigrant to satisfy in order to be counted as a Canadian. There is a variety of activities that one can engage in, and someone can be a bookworm like yours truly used to be until recently. Now I have taken to creating content rather than consuming it. So my reading has gone down significantly. But until recently, I used to be a bookworm. Uh, that doesn't make the person any less Canadian. Then another person offered that, since it was Europeans who built this country, therefore any brown skinned person is not a Canadian and they should all go back. Now, I have addressed that they should all go back part in an earlier podcast, so I'm not going to repeat that here. But this claim is worth examining because it is true. Nobody can deny that Europeans built Canada into what it is now. Of course, there are changes happening all the time, but the basic structure has been put in place by Europeans over a couple of centuries or maybe longer. But this yardstick can also be applied to a lot of other countries in the world. I mean, there are like 46 countries in Africa. And if you are talking about infrastructure like ports, I mean, seaports, airports, roads, railways, electricity transmission, and everything else that goes with being a modern society, I mean, which started in late 19th or early 20th century, all that was put in place by Europeans. So would you say that those 46 countries also belong to Europeans? No. Same thing in many other countries in Asia, in Latin America. The main difference is that in Canada, the native aboriginal population, the indigenous population, is a small percentage of the total. Even before the arrival of immigrants, which started around 1970s, even before that, their percentage was very low. So, if might is right, if numbers make it a European country, then that is a different argument. But simply because Europeans built this country does not stand the test, because there are so many countries that were brought to that stage of development by Europeans, and I give them credit for that. Secondly, if you say that uh, Europeans built this country, they were my ancestors, and therefore this country belongs only to us, white skinned people, then they have to also accept responsibility for all the bad things that were done by those European ancestors, um, even atrocities. They have, but they would resolutely refuse to do that. And for the record, I believe that the current white population of Canada is not responsible for whatever was done in the past. They are independent individuals. But once again, we find that consistency is lacking here. Then there was another contributor who said that you have to adjust to the society, which is true. I agree with that. But the question is, what society, in what form does the society exist for one to adjust to? For example, if you were to bring a Canadian from 100 years ago and put him in the current Canadian society, there are a lot of things that they would refuse to agree to. Probably even to, down to ladies wearing trousers, because that was not considered a good thing. My reference is from the US, but this great Western movie. I mean, it's an entertaining movie, Cat Ballou, starring Jane Fonda and I think Dean Martin. I'm not sure who the male lead is. But there is a scene of confrontation between Jane Fonda, who used to wear jeans and shirts, and complete with a six-shooter by her hip. And there is a confrontation between her and another lady who is wearing a proper evening gown. And the lady says, "At least I don't wear my pants where the whole world can see them." So, 100, 150 years ago, if you go back to that period, then, if you were to bring someone with that mindset into today's society, then they would also find it very difficult to adjust to, dressing and behavior, language, uh, things like same-sex marriage, the availability of psychotropic substances. So, all those things are to be factored in when you ask someone to adjust to Canada. They do make an effort. And to be honest, there are times when one feels that they should be doing more. Uh, I remember back in 2013, I think it was, when there was a proposal for housing development in Brampton, and there was a lot of opposition from the existing residents in that area. And one of their contentions was that these are very small houses. There were some townhomes included in that proposal as well, and they said these are small houses, and therefore our the price of our homes will also get negatively affected by the presence of lower priced homes in the area. And then as part of that argument, someone said that we are from Punjab and we are used to living in large houses. Now, this cannot be an argument for blocking development in your area, because in Punjab or wherever, I mean, other than parts of the world where there is a lot of snow, you were not used to shoveling snow from your driveway. Probably there was no driveway because the whole, housing is structured differently there, but you adjusted to that. So similarly, if smaller homes are coming up in your area, you have to adjust to that. So there are excesses on both sides. But I think coming back to the point, uh, who counts as a Canadian? What conditions does one have to satisfy in order to be considered a Canadian? In my view, first of all, it has to be loyalty to Canada. Then you have to be, a positive contributor to the extent that circumstances allow you to the society, not be a nuisance, bring something of value to the society. And that's about it. So I don't know. I mean, this discussion went, all over the map. And this is one thing that I picked up on, where some people were saying that immigrants or brown skinned people can never become Canadian because no matter how many generations they spend here, they cannot become Canadian, which is kind of odd because some brown skinned people came to Canada maybe 100 years ago, maybe a little bit earlier than that, and some Europeans came to Canada in the 1950s and 60s. So I don't think duration of stay for the pedigree or the lineage in Canada is a defining factor. So when I took an overview of what was said, I thought that this needed to be rebutted and to be elaborated on as to who can be considered a Canadian. Let me know what your views are on this. I'll see you again in the next episode. Until then, goodbye and be well.